Good morning, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats, me with Rob and Donald. And I don't know if you guys heard, but Aaron Boone joined Evan and Tiki on the Fan yesterday. And he was talking about the upcoming 2024 season. And he spent a lot of focus on the outfield alignment. And I thought it was really interesting of how he was anticipating using their roster with Grisham, Verdugo, Judge, Soto, and Stanton. Right. And I think that one of the things that stuck to my mind, he wants to keep things very fluid. He doesn't want to put anybody in a specific box. He wants to utilize guys where they get the off days, they get the opportunity to rotate the DH. And it seems like he has a really, I have to say, it sounds like Boone has a very sound plan in mind. He's going to be using Judge a lot in the center field. Soto will be used mostly in right. Verdugo, he has a lot of confidence in left field because of his defensive abilities and his familiarity with the stadium being from the Red Sox. He feels he has a lot of confidence that he can handle the ground. I think that if he sticks with that and just rotates Grisham into the corner outfield spots to get guys off their feet, or those half days off with the DH, to give Stanton a day off, I actually like that decision. I like the way he's thinking. What do you guys think?
Grisham has to be in center when he's playing. Grisham's too good of a center fielder. If he's coming up, he's going to be the fourth outfielder. When he plays, he's got to be in center. But also the other day he was talking about potentially, we talked about this last year, and I still don't have a problem with it, is potentially using Judge in left. And that's the only reason, is because Soto is really bad in left field, where he's actually better in right field. And Yankee Stadium's right field is a lot shorter than most. So I think Soto's going to be fine in right. And I wouldn't mind having Judge play left a little bit because I feel more confident he can cover that ground than Soto would. And the thing about Judge having Judge in center field primarily is you're going to have to DH him a lot. And that's where Stanton losing that weight comes into play. So if he can actually move and not look like a stone out there, then that's going to really help the Yankees, to where we know he can play left field in Yankee Stadium. We don't want to see him out there that much, but if he's able to give you some games in left, that'll be a huge benefit to giving Judge a day off here and there. We're going to see a lot of DHing from Judge, from Stanton, from Rizzo potentially as well, just to keep guys off the field here and there. That's the price you pay with having an older team, especially with guys coming back from injury. If that's the way to keep them fresh, is to use that DH as a rotating spot instead of having just one guy locked into it, that's a good idea. But in terms of the outfield, I like the alignment. I like having Judge in center because I know he can play it. And I'm much more confident with Soto in right field because I think it was 2-3 years ago he actually had a really decent year in right field for the Nationals. Like grading, he was really good. He was a plus in outs above average. He was a plus in DRS. So if that's his strength, you keep him there. Judge can handle center, and I'm pretty confident Judge can handle left field. That's how good of an outfielder he is. I'd feel a lot more comfortable with Judge in left than I would with Stanton or Soto or even Verdugo at this rate, because Verdugo is not known as a great defender, but I'm sure he can do it. I mean, we have Jake Bowers out there and Cordero. I think we can live with Verdugo for a season.
Yeah. Donald, your take on the alignment?
I don't want to fit square pegs in a round hole, so Grisham should be the center fielder on a rotational basis. Verdugo's more comfortable in left, I think, than right. Is right field isn't the best right fielder by any stretch of the imagination. Aaron Judge, here's the thing though. Aaron Judge is supreme in right field, but he's also excellent in center field. So I think for the purposes of the way this is working out, it looks like he's the center fielder. He'll do great. Now, I just want to pick up on this comment here. Did they use analytics to make that decision? serious question. Really good point here, because I think the analytics would say Aaron Judge in right, Grisham in center, and left field would be Soto. So I don't think they're probably using analytics, because the analytics weren't fair to Aaron Judge in center field. And I mean, the eye test tells you how good Aaron Judge was in center. He was fantastic. Made all,
Yeah.
but the analytics didn't particularly credit him as much as they credit him for right field. Even though I didn't see a noticeable difference, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in the chat, but my eyes told me he was an excellent center fielder. And judging by the way the Yankees are planning this, it looks like they think he's a really good center fielder too. So sometimes the analytics don't do justice, but of course, Grisham should not be an everyday player. Of course not. But that's not the question. I'm just for the purposes of analytics. If you're only using pure analytics, then they would probably have him as an everyday center fielder, because he's an excellent center fielder. But that's not obviously logical. So the way this has worked out, yeah, Judge center, right field, but Judge, he can also play right field as well. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It does look like it's going to be fluid. One thing I don't want, though, is I don't want constant rotation. I don't want constant chopping and changing. So when you first started your sentence, I was like, "Uh-oh, is that what Boone's plan is? Just to constantly rotate every other day? Because that's not going to help anyone." But yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's Grisham. Yeah, I think I'm with you guys. I like the center field option, maybe left. If the schedule kind of forces his hand, without the off days that he has to just get a little creative for a game or two. The one thing that Boone did point out, and I was like, it had me sit back and, like you were saying, Donald, alluding with the analytics and how the eye test was better. In 2022, Judge had that amazing, that's when he had that MVP year. He played the majority of the games that year in center field. That was his healthiest season.
Ooh.
And that was something that Boone took very high stock into his decision making of where he sees his team going. So Boone's paying attention. Like, that's really, I think that's what I took out of it the most. He's not just going, well, we'll see what happens. The games haven't, no, he's, as we approach pitches and catches, he's already trying to have a solid plan to what he sees his team being. And I think that the most important part that John pointed out, they need to have, as long as the lineup is consistent enough where you're not just, like we said last year, just throwing names in a hat, drawing names out of a hat to see what the lineup is and who's playing where. That system, that process doesn't work, right? I'll use the word process. That's Boone's favorite word, right? It's all about the process. Boone, he has me, after listening to him yesterday, he has me very confident going into 2024. I'm feeling a lot better because they're not trying, they made all these calculated moves from the front office, and now the manager is trying to be very calculated with how he utilizes the players that were given to him. And he's got a much better roster than he did going into 2023. So
it's hard.
I feel so much better with Boone going into the season. Will he let me down? Probably. This is Aaron Boone we're talking about. He relies a lot on the analytics. I think that he needs to
he has to turn it on this year.
Yes.
If this is not a good year, he's out. So I can picture him trying to push more buttons this year. I have to imagine there has to be some feedback to him to maybe be a little bit tougher on these guys. It shouldn't be a It shouldn't be a party place, really. Honestly,
Yeah.
let's get down to business. I think we should welcome people in the chat here. Everyone in the chat, hit the like button. So everyone in the chat right now, hit the like button for us. Let's say a quick hello to everyone. Got Jonathan, salute. Got Stevie B, salute. NFE, salute. Got Joan, salute. Anthony, Medina. We got Yankee Kyle, salute Yankee Kyle. And we have Chris Northrup in the building as well. Hello, Chris. Damian Serrano, great to see you. Artie G, what up? Dev, good to see you too. FJ, William Reap. Tom looks like he has court this morning.
I was going to make the joke that you were auditioning for the new edition of Blue's Clues, but
What up? Big Blue Wrecking Crew, salute. Let's go, Big Blue. Yeah, anyone who hasn't said hello yet, come on, say hello yet. Come and say hello to us, and hit the sub button if you haven't already done so. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone.
I just want to talk about the defensive metrics because Donald brought that up, and he's right because actually last year they had Judge better in center and outs above average. He was a 1 in center and he was a -2 in right. But 2022 he was a 1 and he was a 1 in both. But in defensive runs saved, he was a -1 in center field in 2022 and a 2 in right field. So again, the analytics, like Donald said, aren't too kind to him in center, but when you watch him play, you don't see much of a difference. You just see a guy that's able to somehow cover all that ground in his frame. So, I mean, I don't have any issue with the guy in center field at all. I think if he can handle it, if he's healthy, if that toe is good to go, and so far so good, we're seeing good reports about it. Boone says he's good to go. We watched that video from Gleyber Torres. He keeps saying the toe's good, the toe's good. So if that's the case, put him in center. And they said this is the second they got Soto. Like that was the news we kept hearing is once that trade was announced, like the plan is for Judge to play a lot of center field. And I was ready to roll with it. I'd much rather him in center field than the other options. I don't want to start Grisham because he's not a starter. He's a good bench piece for sure, a good fourth outfielder. Yeah. He's a guy that can give you 15 homers off the bench possibly, which is great. But out of the guys we have, your best center fielder is Aaron Judge. And when Dominguez comes back, because that's a question that's been asked a couple of times, when he's back, I put him in center field. If you have to bench Verdugo here and there and you got to put Judge in left, I don't care. Or maybe they want to put Dominguez in left at this rate. But if Dominguez is your future in center field, stick him out there. But make sure he's healthy. Now, when he's 100% and he comes back, you can DH him here and there. But if he's ready to play the field, put him out there in center or put him out there in left. You can bench Verdugo. And maybe at that point, Verdugo potentially gets moved. Let's say he's having a rough year. They let him go. He's not going to cost you much if you just eat the money that he's owed. Or if another team comes calling and says, hey, we'll give you so-and-so. We know you got this kid coming back. We don't know what's going to happen with him. But when Dominguez is back, he's got to start. Unless Verdugo's putting up like MVP numbers and you just can't sit him, then you can just like, okay, we'll just stash Dominguez until we have a reason to use him because you don't want to rush him back and just take a hot bat out of the lineup. And I have a hard time seeing Judge or Soto struggling to a point where you replace them with Dominguez. So the only person that would make sense to replace with Dominguez is Verdugo. So again, we don't have to worry about that till June or July. But once he's healthy, I'm sure the Yankees have a plan for him. I'm not going to worry about that. It's just that where is he going to factor in long term? Is he a left fielder or a center fielder? I think he can handle center, but depending on what happens with Soto next year and Spencer Jones, that could factor in where Dominguez plays in the future. But as for this year, I would say more left field than center.
Yeah, you might have the situation. Look, best case scenario is there's not enough room, or there's not enough options to utilize 5 guys that are all playing really well between Soto, Judge, Verdugo, Grisham, Dominguez. That's a good problem. And what we say every year, and sometimes people forget, unfortunately, sometimes it's fortunate, sometimes unfortunate, but these issues solve themselves. It's the players will dictate whether it's through their performance or their health if they're going to be sustainable or not. If Verdugo and Grisham are actually being, putting up numbers to be a legitimate contributor to Yankee success, like you alluded to, Rob, there's still the trade option. A team might call up. You might want to try to move Grisham. I'd rather hold on to Verdugo if I had to pick between those two. Just because Verdugo's experience in the East, the AL East, in those ballparks, I'd rather. He's the guy that I would hold on to. And besides, and he's a lefty bat. I like the lefty bat. I like the balance in the lineup. I think that. No, I'm saying, but just because he's also familiar with the AL East.
Well, I don't think they're going to move Grisham because he's got the extra year of control, where Verdugo's a rental.
Oh, good point. I thought they were both rentals for a second.
No, that's why. That's why I didn't have a problem with getting Grisham, because you got at least for 2 years you got a good fourth outfielder. And again, he's not going to hit for average or anything, but he's a great defender and he's got some pop. In Yankee Stadium, that can translate to 15 homers off the bench. I mean, we saw Bowers have how many last year? So, I mean, I think Grisham can definitely get you like 15 or more because he's going to play. There's going to be an eventual injury, whether we like it or not. Someone's going to get hurt. It just happens every year. So Grisham's going to get playing time. It's just hopefully it's not too much early on. But he's a 15, 20 home run potential guy. Just again, he's going to have a low average. He's not going to hit the ball very well, but when he does, he could send it over the wall.
One of the other things that Boone was talking about, because it's starting to come up in the chat, is the utilization of Stanton. And I thought that Boone was not playing cheerleader for Stanton.
Okay, what did he say?
He was very deliberate with it. He was being very cautious with with him. He does expect him to play. He wants to try to have him in the outfield once or twice a week. But he's a guy that we need more in the lineup in the outfield. But if the window comes up that I need to give somebody a day off, I want him to be able to handle that call to play the outfield. I think he's got a good point. And one question that Evan asked him, because Stanton had better numbers against lefties. Does that come into play when he's potentially making his lineups out? Is Stanton going to be that DH for a situation where whether it's a righty or a lefty on the mound? That also I thought was interesting.
I mean, he's right though. You have to have his bat in the lineup. If he's healthy, you're not going to sit him. It's still Giancarlo Stanton. I know a good majority of the fan base is sick of the guy, but I constantly say it. Even when he's hurt, he's a 20 home run guy. Even last year was his worst season. He hit 22. So he's going to give you home runs. And I'm pretty sure the next 4 years that we have him, unless they eat the money at some point, but if he's a lower average, high power guy, when the on base is good, you're going to take it. I'll take 2022 Stanton all day of the week right now at this rate compared to last year. If he gives you 30, you're not going to complain right now. So, but the fact is, whatever it takes to keep him on the field, to keep him off the IL, I should say. So if you have to sit him here and there, if it keeps him off the IL avoid the 2-month IL stint that they rush him back from, and then he has to play hurt the rest of the way. Because that's what happened last year, clearly, and the year before that as well. He was an all-star, came right after the all-star break, got hurt, and he wasn't the same player. So you don't lose your talent in the snap of a finger. We were all saying about Rizzo, like there's something going on with him that nobody was talking about, or at least the Yankees weren't seeing, and Rizzo didn't want to say anything about it. So that was a terrible thing they did, playing him through the concussion. But Stanton's still a good hitter. You don't just lose it. We know he can't hit the down and away pitch very well, but if he can just lay off that, because he's usually a high on base guy. I'm sure his average will be in a good season at this rate. He'll probably be like a 230, 240 hitter, but I don't care at that point if he's hitting me 30, 35 homers. That's what we need him to be now, because we have Judge and Soto that can be those high on base, high power, high average guys. And Juan Soto is also a guy that can play the entire season. I think he played every game last year, maybe like a game or two short. So he's an Iron Man. You don't need to give him days off. You play him every single day. As long as he's healthy, you play that dude every day. If it's DH or if it's outfield, you play him no matter what. But Stanton's a guy that if you have to give him a day off, even if he's not hurt, do it. If it avoids that 2-month-long IL stint, you do it, because you need him, especially in the playoffs, because we know what he does in October. He's been our best hitter in the playoffs. Whether you like him or not, you can't deny that fact. He is one of the few guys that shows up every October. So we need him healthy. So whatever it takes to keep this guy healthy. And if he stinks up the joint again this year, I know Dane's brought it up a few times. There's a lot of people think the Yankees could just say screw it and eat the money for the next 3 seasons. But I hope that's not the case. You need to keep this guy healthy.
Did Boone say that what his plan is for Stanton?
He wants to have his bat in the lineup as often as possible. Okay. And he does want to get him on the field once or twice a week.
Oh, good. Okay.
Right. So, like what Damian threw out in the comment earlier, where was it? Was it Damian?
Yeah.
Yeah. You thought it was very telling because obviously Damian heard the interview as well. Boone didn't. One, I like that Boone's not throwing anybody under the bus. He's not overly praising anybody. He's pretty much calling it straight down the middle. He doesn't want to use him as a part-time player. He thinks that he still has some life left, some gas in the tank. So I know we're tired of seeing him and his lack of performing. And Evan, I'll give Evan credit because he don't pull punches with questions. He said to Boone, "What do you do with Stanton?" When he was talking about like the righties versus lefties, he's like, you have this player on the roster that the fans have given up on. So as a manager, how do you work around that? You're putting this guy in a lineup that they're just itching to boo. And he's like, Stanton is a professional. Just because, these aren't Boone's words. This is how I don't remember the exact phrasing of that. How I interpreted it is Stanton is a professional ball player. He is on the other side of 30. He's going, and his physique, he's going to age faster than somebody that's just a little more lean. And you're seeing that he's losing the weight. He's not putting, he's trying to give himself more flexibility in his muscle mass. So Stanton's putting in the work to try to keep himself relevant on this roster. And I think Boone is going to reward him.
Evan said to him that the fan base has given up on Stanton. Is that true? I don't have that feeling. That the fan
ain't
base
me, I'll tell you that much. I ain't giving up on the guy.
I'm not giving up on him either. That's why I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, he's got things to work on, but I don't know if the fans are itching to boo him. Again, it kind of sounds like a Met fan asking a question about the Yankees where you don't really know the ins and outs of, because the truth is we boo because we want to cheer, and that's always been the it's always been the way. So Yankee fans aren't itching to boo him. Yankee fans are itching to boo Aaron Hicks and Josh Donaldson because they suck. So it's just funny that Boone's never been asked the question about when we had Hicks and Donaldson under contract, why he wasn't asked anything like that, because that seems far more applicable than Stanton, who's one of the best hitters of the modern era. Unfortunately, injuries have hurt him, but he can still hit. So That's why I'm a little bit. I just wanted to jump on that. I was like, wait a minute, the fans have given up on him. I don't know about that. I know the fans are a little tougher on him, but I don't know if they've given up on him. I mean, but we got so many people in the chat. Come and hit us up. Do you guys think? Have you guys given up on him? That's my question.
Yeah, and I think Damian makes a good point because, like, if you look on, if you just go by Twitter, like, everyone hates the guy, but I'm not going to base off of Twitter fans' opinions because there's a lot of morons on that site. But look, the guy is making a lot of money. I know the Yankees didn't give him that contract, but they did trade for him, even though they gave up nothing for him. And you expect results, right? You expect results from a guy getting paid that much. So I get it. I get the frustrations. Trust me, I'm not holding his hand through anything. I'm not saying he's going to be okay because I was frustrated with him last year too. He stunk. He flat out stunk. That's not Giancarlo Stanton. It wasn't. But even in a season that was absolutely dreadful, he still got you 20 homers. So I think that gives you a little bit of insight that he's not washed. There's something still there. And if he can just not be playing through another injury, then NFP, I'm not going to go through that. But no, I'm just saying, like, if you can just keep the guy as close to 100% as possible, you're going to get a good offensive season out of him. Defense, I couldn't care less about because he's going to primarily DH. But if he's out there for 2 times a week, if it keeps him fresh, we've all been saying this for 4 years now, if that's what it takes to keep him fresh, keep him on his feet, and he gives you a 35 home run season, and he shows up in October, I guarantee you no one's going to be complaining about this guy. He's a big X factor in this lineup because if you have him there hitting at his usual rate, you know how much better this lineup is? Like, the Yankees need a healthy Giancarlo Stanton. That we say that every single year because look how good he was a few years ago in 2021. He put the team on his back with Judge. In 2018, when Judge was playing through the injury, he put the team on his back. Like, we don't get that far without Giancarlo Stanton. So it really sucks that a lot of his time here has been hurt by the injuries because we know how good he is. But this is a big year for him because if he stinks up the joint, the Yankees may not have a choice but to just cut their losses and unfortunately give up on the guy. But if you see a good power season, they're not going to do that. At this point, just give me the home runs and give me the RBIs. I could care less about his batting average because I know I'm going to get a higher average from the likes of Judge and a healthy Rizzo and Soto, and Torres is going to be a good average guy. Hopefully Volpe, if he plays a lot, Peraza. So give me the power, give me the runs batted in from Stanton. That's all I want.
Look, if we can get 140 games out of Stanton, right? That's
my God, are you kidding?
I think that's on the high. I think that's health. That's health. If he's available, if he's able to play 140, say he hits 220, 230, and get all right. So forget the games played. If he gets you a 220, 230 average with 30 home runs, I think that I'd sign up for that.
It's all about his OPS, of course. As long as his OPS is solid, then
John pointed out earlier, he's got to be patient with the pitches outside the zone. He swings a lot. He swings a lot when the ball's in the other box. I mean that'll drive any fan crazy of any team, of any player. It's highlighted more when it's a superstar. The other thing that I think needs to be brought into the thought process, this is 2024. This is not going. Don't expect to stand in from 2017. That was a long time ago. And that was a big reason why we kept saying when he first got here, keep him on the field, keep him loose. That's not the plan for him anymore. The priorities of his utilization has shifted. The object of this season is to keep him healthy enough to be productive. That's it. That's all I'm going to ask for.
Yeah, and if you go by his projections, I know don't look too much into these, but Fangraphs has him playing 105 games, which I think you take at this point. I hope for more, of course, but About a 785 OPS, a 114 weighted runs created plus, and 27 home runs and 70 ribbies. I'm signing up for that. If obviously I like more games played for sure, but if he's giving me close to 30 homers and 70 plus ribbies, the weighted runs created plus is over 110. The OPS is nearing 800. I mean, compared to what we've been getting from him these last 2 seasons, I think you sign up for that. So I think 140 might be pushing it with him. If you can get 120 or more, you take it.
Well, I was thinking 140 because I'm like, if he has 22 games off throughout the season, including the built-in off days, that mean it just shows. And I said that I'm like, that's why 140. That's the high end. He has had not one health issue.
Yeah,
and then still having 22 games off, plus all the built-in off days. That's what I'm hoping. I would hope for that.
I would say
realistic. No, that's why I backtrack and said I forget about games played.
Yeah,
let's go by his batting average and home run production.
Because also bear in mind, Verdugo, Grisham will need regular
at bats. There are 4,
and then of course Dominguez could be breaking in August, September. That will play a factor as well. Li wasn't totally wrong when he had a comment earlier when he said that Stanton's place is almost obsolete on this team, and it almost feels like that they're kind of building an outfield that doesn't include him in the future. That's what it certainly looks like to me. So Stanton has 1 year here, 1 year to really do it. I think this is his year. He has to turn it around. He has to give us, I think north of 105 games, to be honest, but 110, 115, I think 120, something like that would be amazing. But I'm not going to count him out. He's a hell of a player. The only thing that disturbed me last year was that what was a common theme with him was that he'd get really hot. Every year he'd have a hot streak that was just crazy, where he's the hottest man in the world. He's fucking hitting like 1,000, right? And then he'd go stone cold for a long time, right? That was kind of a trend of his. But what was odd about last year was that he never did have that hot streak. And that is something a little concerning, because normally he always had that hot streak in him. He just never really took off at any point, and it was almost like he was threatening to, but never just quite did, So I've always kind of railed on Boone for the fact that he sat him during his hot streaks, which kind of was always kind of pointless, because you only have Stanton for a finite amount of games. Don't you want to make use of him when he's at his best, rather than just continue to trot out these random off days when he's red hot? Like, it never made sense to me. What'll be interesting is this year is, do we see a hot streak? Will we see that hot streak? And if we do, then I'm confident that we'll get a better version of Stanton. But the first few months is going to be very telling, because if Stanton continues to struggle, as he did last year, you're going to see him slowly pushed out to more of a part-time role, and then you'll see more of an increase possibly in Grisham until Dominguez is ready. We'll wait and see how things turn out, because everything's fluid. A lot can change, but I certainly haven't given up on Stanton. Stanton is I'm always going to ride with Big G. Big G's a hell of a freaking player. I'm convinced he's going to turn it around this year.
Yeah, I don't want to get too into the weeds with when Dominguez comes back, because it's not like he's coming back in May or June. We're looking more in June, July. So I think it gives us as fans the opportunity to see what's working until he comes back. Yeah. Then we'll once they say that he's close, because you don't know what rehab's going to be for him. He's a young player that they're putting a lot of value in by not trading him. So they're not going. I don't want them to rush him back just to have that marquee in the building. I think that they've made that mistake too many times, and it always blows up in their face. Just because we're going, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? There's a reason that they try not to rush these players back.
Well, and they're not going to rush him back, but just because he's at the complex now doesn't mean he's going to be playing first spring game.
Yeah.
You know, he's not going to be back till July potentially. Could it be even August if for all we know? You don't rush him back. He's 21. You know, he's coming off a major surgery. Don't rush him back. You don't need to. That's why they got Soto. That's why they got Verdugo. So you don't have to rush him back. So that's a great thing they did. If he was healthy, we wouldn't have gotten Verdugo. I think we'd still pursue Soto, but we wouldn't have gotten Verdugo. I'll tell you that much. But he's not healthy, and we can't rely on him until midseason. I want to hear about Spencer Jones because we don't know what he's going to be yet. I know Dominguez shot up the system, but Dominguez had a lot less. He had a really good spring, and it gave you an idea of what he was going to be during the minor league season. You saw him progress each step of the way. So I still need to see a lot more with Spencer Jones. So I'm not going to rely on him this year, and he doesn't need to be on part of the team this year. You let him come up when he's ready to go. Now, if he shoots up the pipeline and gives you a reason to play him, then by all means, let's see the kid. But Spencer Jones, he's not part of the plan this year, nor should he be. That's why you added who you added. You rely on Spencer Jones in 2025 if you have to. That's when he's probably going to be here. Unless something drastic happens and you have no choice, but he's not in the plans. Dominguez, though, will be in the plans once he's 100%. Spencer Jones, there's some things to work on there. But I'm confident that when he is here, he's going to be a really good outfielder and potentially a really good first baseman as well. Because if anyone's read Maz's article that he put up last week on NYYU, he mentions how they can use him as kind of like that Cody Bellinger type, that he'll play in the outfield and he'll play at first base, and you can utilize him because he's really good. He's a really good athlete. And if that's the way to keep, assuming you keep Soto, that's how you keep him, Dominguez, Judge, and Soto in the lineup at all times, assuming Stanton's still here, of course, so you don't have to worry about who's DHing, then you got a chance to keep all of them in the lineup at once. And that's the best case scenario. So I love that idea. Would I prefer Jones in center field? Absolutely. But you're not going to move Soto away from the outfield. You're not moving Judge away from the outfield. And Dominguez has to be either in left or center field. And you're not moving him away. He's too good of an outfielder to take him out of that. The only option is to move Jones, get him playing first base now before it becomes an issue, because you don't want to do it in the middle of his major league career. It's like, okay, you're going to move to first. There's no way Soto's going over there before you know who suggested. There's no way Judge is going to move there. There's no reason to. So you go ahead and you get Jones working at first base. This way you have your plan for the future. And if they use him a little bit here and there, that's great. I loved Maz's article. It made a ton of sense because it gives you an idea of what they can do in 2025. But I don't want to hear about Spencer Jones yet. He ain't coming up yet unless he breaks out in the spring like Volpe did. But even then, where's he going to play? So Spencer Jones, right now, he's on the back burner till 2025. But when he's here, he's going to be playing a lot.
Spencer Jones will be very interesting because we are so packed in the outfield. I think he's going to get reps at first in spring. But is that utilizing his best asset? Because he's a speedy guy. He's got a lot to offer with a bit. He's got a good arm, he's a fast guy. Is that the best utilization of him in first base? You know, he does seem like more of an outfielder, but we're going to be stocked in the outfield, especially if we do extend Soto. So that's going to be very interesting how this is going to play out.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point that Mazza was making, because if you have no choice, right, because you're not moving Soto to first and you're not DHing him either. He's not the worst outfielder in the world. You know, he's not the best, but you're not moving him. You're not gonna extend the guy at 26 and say you're the DH or you're moving to first base. Like, you're not doing that. He's not going to agree to that. You're not taking Aaron Judge and moving him to first. That makes no sense. And you're not going to tell Dominguez to move to another position. So the best way to do it, if you're not going to trade Jones and you're planning on using him, put him at first, and you can have him play center field here and there. See, and again, there you go with the whole thing. Several people have told you, Li, that is so dumb to move Soto to first base when he's never played there. When you have Jones,
You
he's
can
already
develop
played
to a first baseman.
yeah, you can develop him.
You know,
You can do both. That's what the whole point of Maz's article was. You can have him do both because Bellinger does it, and he does it very well. He's very comparable to Bellinger in terms of athleticism. I know I wanted to compare him to Judge because of the height, but when you look at how Bellinger is athletically, he's an excellent center fielder. He's an excellent first baseman. The Cubs could sign him and have him play first, and he's only 28. I don't see anyone complaining about that. So Spencer Jones can be your future at first base and you can put him in the outfield if need be at some point. Great, but I don't want to hear about Bryce Harper because they moved him to first base when he was hurt at 31. Soto's 26. Why are you not getting? I'm gonna. Should I time him out? Should I do it?
No, because I want him to hear this. Okay, you talk about people not with your shiny toy. Okay, a year ago, you're the one that kept saying you can't. You had said not to trade Dominguez because we need he's our future center fielder. And now that Jones is the shiny new toy in our prospect, now he's our future center. Well, how many center fielders? They can't both play every day. So are you giving up on Dominguez now as your future center fielder? So you have to answer that one, Li, because you're flip flopping a little bit, and I know it's a year apart, but you're still kind of flip flopping.
He thinks he's a GM. He thinks he's going to go into conversations with the generational outfielder like Juan Soto and say, hey, we want you to play first base. And he's going to be like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, you're going to have me move to another position because of this kid that might be good or might not be good is coming up. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense. I'm sure he'll re-sign because I'm sure the Mets won't call him and say, we'll give you the same price and you'll be in right field or left field no matter what. Maybe they'll even give him more money.
Let's go through this scenario, right? So we say, Dominguez goes to left field. So who's your starting right fielder? Judge or Soto?
He wants Judge and right and Soto at first. He wants Juan Soto to play first base.
No.
Because Bryce Harper moved to first base last year was an injury. 6 years older. Thank you, Garcia, for correcting me on the age. He's 6 years older than Dominguez, but not Soto. He had to move to first base because he was hurt, not because they wanted to, because he was hurt. That's what you're not getting. But once again, you don't listen when people talk to you because you've had the same conversation on Twitter.
Right.
Dane,
so you're going to take a 25, 26-year-old and put him at DH? Wow.
The big key here is let's keep Soto happy, please. I am not disrespecting a generational hitter by going, you're moving positions to first base, whether you like it or not. Unless he volunteers going, I want to be first base, then you don't consider it because he's a star. But I don't want to make that the focus of the podcast. We'll move on.
Well,
it's a fun debate, but it's not really debate.
Yeah.
Soto's going to be in the outfield. And if he's not playing the outfield, he'll be DH. He's not playing first base. That's ridiculous. So, and he won't be a DH for a long time. I won't think he will be a DH until his 30s because he's 25. What are you going to do? It's ridiculous. Anyway, as Medina says, Soto played 162 games in left field. So in 22. So yeah, he is not going to be moved to first.
Go switch him
I
to
think
first
there was
base
a
and
comment. I think there was a comment earlier that Soto had only played 6 or 7 games at DH.
It's like 15 in total in his career. He's been a DH. He's an outfield. Okay. Yeah, he's not the best outfielder in the world, but I'm telling you, analytically, again, outfield analytics sometimes are screwed, but he's not unusable in the outfield. I know he's not the best, but we just had a season where we saw Franchi Cordero play right field for us, and Jake Bowers and Willie Calhoun was in the outfield. I think we can live
IKF.
with 10, IKF. We can live with 10, 12 years of Juan Soto as the right fielder. He's better in right field. And guess what? Yankee Stadium has a small right field. It's tailor-made for him. And if you have to move Judge to left or center field in the future years, and then he'll be a DH sooner than Soto because he's already 31, Judge. So the next like 4 or 5 years, he could be the DH because Stanton won't be here in 5 years from now. So it's solved. But if that's the way, that's all we're saying is that's the way to keep Jones in the lineup and not have to do all this rotating nonsense that doesn't need to be done. You get Jones to learn first base now, and you can utilize him like a Cody Bellinger. That's all Maz is trying to say, and it was a fantastic article. So if you haven't checked it out, please go check it out, and you'll understand why it makes sense.
That's a good point.
I mean, Rob and I have been going off about it and kind of picking at it. Donald, throw your argument into this.
In regards to Spencer Jones,
with Soto, it's Jones. How you gonna or like the Dominguez Jones? Like, how are you utilizing these guys? If you plan, if the overall plan is to retain Soto.
So yeah, of course, Soto's a priority. He has to be extended, and he's going to play left field. He's going to play left field until he tells us he doesn't want to play left field. That's just the way it goes with you when you bring in a superstar like Juan Soto. So you're going to look at Soto play in left. I expect Aaron Judge to move back to right, and then center field would be opened up for Jason Dominguez. And I would continue to work on Spencer Jones at first base. You want to get that talent in the lineup if he is what we think he is. And I think he is what everyone thinks he is. He's exciting. He's a very exciting prospect. There is obviously Rice to talk about. Rice is someone to keep an eye out on. But I want to keep all these options available. And may the best man win. Kind of like the way it worked out with Peraza and Volpe. May the best man win. So let's keep these options open. I don't think we should close any avenues regarding Spencer Jones. If Spencer Jones can be worked on to play first base, it's a good problem to have. But I don't expect Rizzo to be back next year. I don't expect Verdugo to be back next year. So it will kind of clear up a little bit of this clutter. At the moment, the focus is very much going to be on going all in on a championship. I don't expect to see much of Dominguez or Jones this year. I don't expect it. I would expect that we're going to ride with the veterans more. And I think the only quote-unquote young guys you're going to see getting regular at-bats will be Volpe, obviously be playing everyday shortstop. I think you're going to see more Wells, a catcher, and Peraza. I don't know what their plan is on Peraza. That's still up in the air, but I don't think you're going to see too much of Dominguez. Maybe late July, maybe late August, but again, we're going to be so packed. It depends. Maybe they move on from Verdugo in the trade deadline, but I doubt that because the thing is, don't forget, Cashman has been trying for years to get Verdugo, not just this might work. He's been wanting him for a while, so there will be a plan for him. So don't discount Verdugo. Verdugo might be really good this year. I like him. I think he can play. I think he's going to be really good in this market. So let's play it out. As I say, let the best man win.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the fact that you're comparing him to Harrison Bader when the dude hasn't played above Double-A, I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous. You can go off projections all you want. Until you see it at the major league level, you don't know what he's going to be in the outfield. So enough. Please stop. Like, you're not moving Soto to first base. But the whole point is when these kids are ready, it's perfectly fine to rely on the veterans this year because you're going all out. Verdugo for one season, fine. Until Jones is ready, we don't have to worry about him. But the best case scenario for him is to play first for now. Because again, if you do re-sign Soto, and that's got to be the plan, he's not re-signing to move positions at 26 years old. He will be 26 next year. That's the point I was trying to make earlier. But you're not moving positions. He's not going to first. He's going to be an outfielder. Whether it's left or right field is undecided yet. And I think F. Diver brought it up, is injury waiting to happen with Judge. He got hurt playing right field last year running into a wall. He didn't get hurt playing center field 2 years ago, and he was perfectly fine out there. So until, I mean, again, I don't want to put that negative energy out there, but he's, oh my God, I'm going to ban him. I'm going to do it, but I'm
No.
I'm not doing it.
He's not doing anything. He's just giving his comments. But I don't think Verdugo's going to be moved to the trade deadline because, as I say, Cashman's been wanting him for a long time. So I think there's going to be a legitimate plan for him. Was Boone asked about his plans for Peraza? Did anybody ask him that?
No. A lot of it was just mostly about with the outfield alignment. How he wants to make sure that is he go? Then they asked him if he's going to be kissing Soto's ass to make sure that he stays. Then there was also talk about like the football playoffs. So it wasn't.
Well, they missed the beat there because that is one of the more pertinent questions.
Well, because Soto's the back page name. So it was all about they talked mostly about the outfield.
No, I get that, but the outfield, the football playoffs and stuff, great. But what is the plan for Peraza? Because I'd like to hear that from the horse's mouth.
Okay, no, Damian caught it. All right, so it was utility player.
I hate that so much. Start him at third or trade him. Start him at third or trade him. He's too young. He's got too much potential to be a utility guy now. Oswaldo Cabrera is a perfect utility player. Plays everywhere, switch hitter. That's his role. I know Tats has been wondering what's his role. That's his role, utility. All over the place. Peraza, I know he can play short, second, and third, but put him at third, start him, and have DJ be the backup to first, second, and third. It works out perfectly. But I hate this idea of him being a utility guy. He's too good of a prospect. He's still, in my mind, he's still a prospect. He's 23 with barely any playing time. Either trade him or start him. That's my hope. That's what I've been saying all offseason is trade him or start him. And if they're going to keep him, I pray he has an outstanding spring and they have no choice but to put him at third base. This kid should not be a utility.
Oswaldo Cabrera is the absolute quintessential utility guy. A guy that doesn't need to play every day. Doesn't have the bat to play every day, but every so often can run in and hit with a little bit of power and hit a couple doubles in the gap, and he'll play good defense all over the field. That's Ozzy. Peraza has higher upside. Like he is an elite shortstop defensively, and he showed that he's an excellent third baseman. And has more room to grow there. And the thing is, I don't think he has the bat to be a utility guy because the way I view it is I think he needs extended at bats. I think he needs like comfortable, like you're gonna play this amount of games and you'll get comfortable and then he'll start hitting because that's what we saw last year. When he got regular at bats down the stretch, you saw his at-bats improve immensely. I think he just needs that comfort and the confidence that, we got you, man. You're gonna be here, you can develop. That's how you develop people. That's how you develop prospects. If you really want to develop a prospect, you go, right, we really like you here. Work there.
This is interesting.
So this is interesting. Say it's third base they want him. Be like, right, you're going to be working at third base primarily, and then work there, and you'll get your regular at bats, and there won't be much pressure on you at the bottom of the order. And that's how I would do it for Peraza. I think they're wasting his potential.
This is interesting. Does he start the year in AAA?
That's a terrible.
Because of the option.
If that's the case, that'd be a real injustice on him.
Yep.
That'd be so bad.
I mean, it'd be the Yankees would be killed. What's going on, Mr. Barros? That's
why I want to trade him now because I just don't see them start again. When have they shown? I've said this so many times. When have they shown the trust in him? Until they show me that, just freaking either get a starting pitcher out of him or start him. I know they got that fourth option. That's why I hate that they got that because they might actually use it. I fear they're actually going to use it. But I would much rather him either start or move him because I don't want this kid on the bench because it serves him no purpose to be. And again, you can say, well, if Rizzo sits, DJ plays first, Peraza plays third, he'll get playing time as the utility guy, but it shouldn't change the fact that he should be starting. You know, he should have been starting when they first called him up 2 years ago, and he should have been starting. I'm not talking with you anymore, Li. And you should have been starting with him last year. So, I mean. Yeah. That's my stance. I haven't changed my stance all the last 2 years on Peraza. I've been as high on him as you can possibly be. And Donald and Tats are the same way. We wanted this kid starting the second they called him up. We wanted him starting sooner than when they called him up. They waited till September. We were saying all through July and August, call the kid up. He's ready. He's ready. And when they called him up, did they play him? No. Last year, they called him up. Did they play him? No. And then they kept sending him down. And they plummeted his – I don't want to say kill his value, but they plummeted his opportunity to grow. And now he's got a chance to do it in the spring. And I'm telling, if he has a Volpe-like spring and they sit him or they send him down, it's going to look so bad because this kid has so much potential to be a high average, not a ton of power, but he can be a 15, maybe 20 home run guy like Volpe, ton of stolen bases, doubles hitter. Why are you not letting this kid play?
No, look, I understand you're pissed. It's look, they're yankifying the guy. That's what it comes down to. You know, and to this comment here, you know, Hal stated that Peraza and Volpe, the infield of the future, what happened? They weren't able to trade Glaber. That was the plan. Move Glaber and put them in, you know, those two in the middle of the diamond. The trade for Glaber fell through. They had to shift their priority. Do I like that? No. Believe me, I'm not cheering that they weren't able to, you know, that they have no, you know, they can't figure out what to do with Peraza. I already I gave them the solution. Put Peraza at third, use DJ as your utility infielder, and Cabrera as your super utility guy. This way you also have the option to keep Rizzo off his feet using LeMahieu for first base once in a while. I don't know why I don't know what analytic or computer keeps saying, you know, keeps giving them these stupid suggestions.
Oh my fucking God.
It's
stupid suggestions.
It's Perez and Pereira have no spot again. Pereira, I don't think he was quite ready last year, to be fair. So I think he's gonna need AAA. But I don't see. I think he's very much obsolete at this point with the way the outfield is looking with Dominguez, possibly Spencer Jones. There's a whole bunch of things going on here. So I think one person who is available is Pereira. He should be available. Peraza. I've been beating Peraza's drum for well over a year now. I think he should be playing every day. I've said it for a long time, and he proved last year that if you give him regular at bats, he becomes a better player. I don't know if having him play once a week is the best use of him. It diminishes his value, and it doesn't help us. If he diminishes value, it doesn't help us anyway. So. Like it's kind of a no-win if you play him as a 1 day a week guy. It does. It just devalues such a key asset. You know, you can't do that to a kid who has upside. His defense is fantastic, far too good to be just a utility guy.
Yep. Yeah. He's got speed. He's got contact. He's got like Luis Arias type of a contact, I would think. Maybe not like high of an average, but a guy that's not going to strike out a ton if they let him use his actual skill set and not try. That's why I'm excited to see what Rosen can do with him, but that's why I want him starting. Yeah, breathe in. What do they say in Bad Boys? Wusa? Yeah, that's what I got to do. I got to tell myself when I'm talking to that troll that we have in our chat, but I just want Peraza to start. I mean, I'm hoping that we can see a really good spring. That's all I'm going to pray for, but if not, I still think they should try to move him. I just don't see a place for that kid on the bench. He's 23. Why are you treating him like a 27-year-old AAA guy? You know, he's 23 with a ton of upside. Start him. Please, I'm begging you.
Absolutely wild.
It's it just doesn't make any sense, And hopefully, you know, hopefully Boone, comes in with a better plan.
Well, it's really
it almost sounds from what he was saying yesterday about but the way he was talking yesterday about the outfield, if only he would have taken the time to properly align his infield, we'd be thinking, we'd feel a lot better about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you had him at the bottom of the order, I think he would give you a very representative season. But the Yankees have different plans. I'm going to try and remain positive about it because this team looks locked and ready to go. So I don't want to waste too much energy talking about someone who's, not going to have a prominent role. And really the key to the conversation is how this outfield is going to perform. Because if the outfield performs the way it will probably do on paper, this outfield's phenomenal. If it performs that way, this team is going to really go far and be a very special team.
And we still got a couple of weeks before pitchers and catchers report. There's still plenty of time before spring training that the Yankees can make roster adjustments and figure things out. But all we could go by is the roster. We can only work with what we got. And who knows what's going to happen as we get closer to the spring. So, there are a lot of changes that can happen. It's not like the off season's over and this is the roster that we're with.
Oh yeah,
there's always the option.
Yeah.
It's is Snell coming, and how are the Yankees is Snell gonna fall into their lap on a better more Yankee friendly deal, being that the market's kind of very quiet.
Highly doubt it.
I mean I doubt it too, but there's still because I still think they have pitching to address. So there's still a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts right now. It's the anxiety because we're getting closer and closer day by day to pitches and catches, and that's the window opening for baseball to be back full time and giving us a season that we're anticipating. So now we're starting to. Well, what about this and fine tuning everything? But we'll just have to see what happens. Look, I think that they're making a mistake with Peraza. I think the way that the outfield is aligned, it's going to lead to the question throughout the year. Is it Jones or Dominguez? Who's your primary? Center fielder. Who's your left fielder? There's so many different ways they can go. But we'll dive into this more on Friday's show. We're going to be heading out here. Well, we appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys are the greatest friends that we got. There's nobody better than you guys. So if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that sub button, tell your friends, tell your family, tell the stranger standing on the corner. Wear your pinstripes of pride and play hard.
Thanks, guys.